Welcome to Plus One Forward, the podcast powered by the Apocalypse, where we talk about tabletop role-playing games using or inspired by the Apocalypse engine. I'm your MC, Rich, and I'm joined by my guest, Steve Wallace of Steve Wallace Art. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm super excited to have you on. I have to kick it off like normal. How long have you been playing PBTA games, and what was your gateway?
Let's see. I have been playing for probably 6 years, give or take, and Apocalypse World was my gateway.
Yes. Did you play or did you run?
I ran it for my... in the state I lived in before, I'm in Arkansas, my gaming group had been together for 15, 16 years, and normally we play D&D, but I found Apocalypse World because I was bored and got them interested in playing it, and yeah, kind of went on from there. We had a...
Okay, what was your Apocalypse?
Our Apocalypse was... They were in Arizona, and California.
Pretty apocalyptic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was straight up post-apocalyptic, kind of Mad Maxian. California was a place called Valhallafornia, where sentient trees lived.
Ooh.
See, Detroit was the last remaining city, and it was actually the last place with technology, so it was a super city. Sort of like Judge Dredd kind of style of city.
Oh, like a mega city?
Yeah, like a mega city in Detroit. Yeah, it was an interesting game. I think we played almost 10 sessions. It was the longest AW game I've ever played.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That is really cool. That's awesome. Well, Steve, you want to jump in and read a sitch?
Yeah, totally.
Read a sitch. Steve, I was thinking, with your game, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, there's a lot of world creation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember I got to play this with Indie Plus one time, and there was a good bit where we were drawing on a map and creating communities and the like. So that's a big part of the game. Now, world creation, and this is not just for your game, but a lot of Apocalypse World games, world creation in a con game. What's the bare minimum that you think you should have to make the game function? And then conversely, and we'll talk about that in a second, but how much is too much? Because, right, you're going to play for 2, maybe 4 hours. You really want to get to the game part of the game, and the world creation is part of the game, but then you don't want it to take over. So how do you normally try to run No Country for Old Kobolds, and from a world creation standpoint? What's your agenda?
So for Kobolds, I almost always go through the first 45 minutes of session as world creation, because it is very integral to the way that Kobolds works as a game, because effectively it relies really heavily on the players to create a lot of content that the GM will use later on. So they create all their enemies, they create everything that's going to try and destroy them. I have a series of questions that you ask that fill out the entirety of the world. I run through that for Kobolds. With other games, I do not run, or I don't usually run as much world creation. If I'm doing Dungeon World, for instance, the entirety of my work is creating questions to drive a really quick world setup, and then coming up with kind of a catastrophic situation to thrust the party into.
Gotcha. Yeah.
What I like using is, all right, you're in a 8x8 room in a dungeon. There's something pounding on the door to your left, and there's a closed door to your right. And then from there, ask 5 or 6 questions to one to every person at the table to kind of round out okay, the rogue, why are you actually, or why is the party here, and then why are you actually here? That sort of thing. So that it kind of builds out a quick party dynamic and a quick world view, and then just go straight from there. So as little world creation as possible in most of the other AW style games I run. Really, for AW, same thing. I would have a slug of a idea, and then a couple of questions to ask, and then move on from there. So if it's not an integral part of the game, then I try and get past it as quickly as possible and into action.
Makes sense. It makes sense. And 45 minutes is usually your goal or your cutoff with No Country?
With Kobolds, I usually try and get everything done within that amount of time, because then that leaves Like in the 4-hour blocks, that leaves enough time for 3 or 4 missions to be ran, which are the meat of the actual game, and that gives that works out to be a very easy level to work from, I think. Once we get that done, it's pretty quick into the game.
Have you ever run into that situation when it's like the 45 minute mark and a couple players are super into talking about a particular mountain? It's got some streams coming down. How did you extricate the game from that world building thing going on there?
I usually, instead of just out and out cutting the person off, I usually ask a couple of, like 1 or 2 extra questions that I know I can get a couple of quick answers from, and then quickly move on to the next person and ask a question of them. Just kind of move it along so that person gets their input, because I do care about what they're super into. But if we spend the entire game then just setting up a mountain, it's not quite as fun.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Anything else about that setting creation on a con slot, that timing that we haven't covered?
No, I just think the most important thing is to not set up or not spend a lot of time early on setting up rails, or like it's really just guideposts, just questions that you can ask that will give you an answer that you can use throughout the rest of the game.
Nice.
It's so much faster.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's jump on in and open our brain to No Country for Old Kobolds. How's that sound, Steve?
Yeah, outstanding.
Open your brain. All right. So first, I've said kobolds the whole time, and you said kobolds too. So it's kobolds. It's not kobolds or kobolds. I've heard a bunch of different ways. You're the expert. You've got the game.
Yeah, I say kobolds.
Okay.
I know there are people that pronounce it 100 different ways, but yeah, it's always kobolds for me.
All right.
And that's how I've always pronounced it since I was a kid. So
I've even heard cobbles, which I thought was really weird.
Yeah.
Really weird.
I think it's just going to be a regional thing, how quickly you pronounce the O.
Do you say shopping cart or shopping buggy?
Yeah.
And how do you pronounce kobolds?
Exactly.
Okay. So tell me about No Country for Old Kobolds. What's the setting and what's it about?
No Country for Old Kobolds is a game that you play to find out what it feels like to be a kobold that's constantly being murdered by these first and second level murder hobo adventurers. They want nothing more than to destroy you and take your experience and what little gold you have and go on to the next big adventure. So it flips the camera around, and it's meant to explore life as that kobold and that kobold's progeny, and just trying to defend a world to live in a world that absolutely does not want you there.
So is it always a fantasy setting?
No. It is actually pretty much setting neutral. Anywhere that you could place kobolds, you can run it. So you could do like an urban fantasy where the countries that surround your village are actually just other neighborhoods controlled by werewolves and vampires and things like that.
Ooh.
Or there is at least one sci-fi module coming out that is a setting in a ring world kind of satellite that has a dying sun with robots and humans and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, that's.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's cool. Oh man, now I want to put them on like a literal like Halo world. The Master Chief comes to shoot us down as a bunch of kobolds. Oh my goodness, that's so cool.
Yeah, because everything's player created in the first place, and none of it's heavily structured around what you can and can't do. So, while the initial overall theme in the book feels very high fantasy, it's absolutely not a requirement. They can be placed anywhere that things would want to kill them.
Neat. What are the mechanics that are different in this game from, say, AW? And how? And also, I really want to hear how you focus that to make it where it's not necessarily system dependent, but you're able to bring across the theme of the No Country for Old Kobolds.
It is pretty drastically different from AW and most Apocalypse World games, in that it's not narrative focused, but there are a few more triggers for things than just overall narrative. One, there is a leveling system, but it's you die and then pass your traits on to your kid, and that kid gets skills from the parent and becomes slightly better. Their stats go up slightly, so the level by dying. There's a central character, which it's kind of like how a hard holder has their hard hold, but instead it's a shared village character that everyone's responsible for. The village is the only thing that actually matters in the game. If you as a kobold die, things keep going, your kid will step up, and the adventures continue. If the village is destroyed, it's all over. The game's over. It's an absolute lose condition within which most AW games do not have.
Yeah.
So there are more time sensitive levers in the game. So there are wants, which as you fail, these wants get worse and worse in your village. So like a want could be fresh water, and it's a clock that has 6 segments. Every time you fail, one of those segments gets ticked.
Oh.
So you have something that you have to fulfill to keep your village alive. You're working the entire game just to keep those wants down and to keep these external pressures, which are sort of like automated fronts, to keep these external pressures from bearing down on your village or on your kobolds. So there's a lot more sort of mechanically feel to it. That is absolutely not a word, but there's a mechanical style to some of the systems. And that constant pressure is actually, it's all by design, because there can never be a good day for a kobold. Like, there always has to be something going wrong, and the world has to be against them. So the system actually actively works to make it harder on the player, to give the player something to butt against, and to be a hero.
Is this strictly a one-shot style game, or can you actually squeeze a campaign out of this, or what?
No, you can get a campaign out of it. You're not going to do a long-running campaign, because at some point, juggling the wants becomes too much over the long term. But you can definitely get a few sessions out of it and tell a pretty significant generational story for your kobolds. They can go from nothing and maybe conquer at least one or two of the countries that surround them and really expand their lot. Or you may just die in the first session, and then your village is gone, and that's that.
Could I possibly run a campaign where I go through enough generations and each of my kobolds level up to where I could be a first level Dungeon World character? Can I do that, Steve?
You would still probably suck a lot. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, like, I actually really love the idea of, like, DCC's Grinder, where you play a bunch of 0 levels to get to a first level. I would love for that to actually work, but yeah, I think the system, you could almost do it. But you'd still be pretty awful.
I'm so tempted now. Your village is destroyed. However, first level.
Yeah. So they have a max ability score of 2. So at best you could have 2s across the board.
Yeah. I'm sure that Jason and David could figure out some kind of compendium class for this, so we'll have to talk to them at some point.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, speaking of mechanics, what is your favorite move in No Country for Old Kobolds, and why?
I have 2. One from the best name I ever came up with was "Fuck you, we have a dragon." Or actually, it's "Fuck you, we have a blank," and there's like 5 levels of it. You can have a wizard, you can have a troll, and the dragon's the final level of it. I think there's 5 levels. A necromancer. They're basically a village protector, so so whenever you fail, the village actually takes the XP, not the character. Mm-hmm. Once you get enough pooled XP, you can buy these moves. "Fuck you, we have a blank" is one of those moves, and you'll just keep upgrading it as the game goes on, so that you have a bigger and a bigger unit to take out into combat with you. So at some point, you'll have a dragon fighting alongside you.
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And everyone seems to always love that one. That gets taken at cons a lot. My favorite move from a mechanical standpoint is actually Tribal Knowledge. It's a basic move. And I really like it because it is a move that gives the player carte blanche to add something to the world. That it just happens. that thing that they talk about and the story that they tell is absolutely true for the rest of the game. So I really like how it inserts fiction into the world.
That is really cool.
Yeah, through tales that they tell.
Awesome. All right, you got me all hyped up. I got to give this thing a shot. We got to get this in an act under fire. You ready, Steve?
Yes, absolutely.
It is time to act under fire. All right, now under Act Under Fire, we're going to play a little bit of No Country for Old Kobolds. Steve, you're the GM. I would like to play Plussikar. Does that sound cool? Little kobold. I think he's, I don't know, kind of bluish in color. It's like a weird off-mix hybrid of kobold and something that mated with a kobold way back in the day.
Okay.
What do we need to do here?
Okay, so you're going to put +1 for all your stats. Now, and I should say, you are quite the strong kobold, because most kobolds have at least one -1 and a -2 stat.
All right. You want me to do that? I will do that. Even on +1 forward, I'm flexible.
Yeah,
so
I see
we got the dungeon roll stats, right? So I think if I'm going to play this character correctly, I should probably go with a -2 on intelligence because I can portray that the best.
Yeah, I think so.
And then a -1 on dexterity.
Okay. Okay.
So there we go.
Nice. And then what you want to do is choose 2 of the kobold abilities from that kobold sheet.
I am seeing them, and I think I would like to have... I want ninjas, sort of.
Okay.
Because that's fun. And, something... slay. Yeah, so ninjas, sort of, and slay. Ninjas, sort of, is a move that allows me to use multiple attacks. Oh, wait. I want a pet. Okay, so ninja, sort of, and a pet. There's too many moves, Steve.
I know.
Too many good moves.
So many abilities.
So many good abilities. All right, ninja, sort of, and a pet.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Okay, what's your pet?
A giant hamster.
Of course it is. Yeah, what's its name?
Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch. All right. So normally, by this point, you would have created your village, and we're going to say Plus and Stan is your village.
Oh, no, the village is called the Gauntlet.
The Gauntlet. Okay, the village is the Gauntlet.
Yes!
So you are protecting the Gauntlet. This day, the rest of the hero kobolds, the kobolds that would normally protect the village, are gone. So it's just you. You and the older and the old and the young. So you are the last line of defense. And you hear this rustling and what sounds like the beating of drums, but then also like high harp music or high violin music. Like it's almost like entrance music or something.
Oh.
And out of the in the trees lining the village, like 2 trees just sort of part, and there's like some smoke, and out steps this dwarf, just wearing nothing but tights and this silver mask. It is your greatest enemy, the Luchadwarves.
Son of a bitch, the Luchadwarves!
And this is their greatest champion, the Silver Mask.
Oh.
And he's come looking for a fight. And he points at you. And like the music stops. And he goes, I call out the biggest, the baddest kobold in this whole village to the mat. What do you do?
I look behind me. There must be a taller, bigger, badder kobold
Literally
here.
Everyone in the village is gone at this point. Like, there's nothing but kobold-shaped dust clouds. And you see people hiding under pans and pots, and the curtains to their homes are fluttering as they've ran in. What do you do?
Turtle? Jimmy? Fred? Nope, nobody? Just... I guess that's... What happens if nobody faces your challenge, Mask?
Then I start ripping apart this village, home by home.
Perhaps we could have a duel of riddles? Limericks?
I've never fought like that, but, alright. What do you do?
I'll jump in on top of Twitch and ride towards the Silver Mask, and hopefully I can guide him away from the village a little bit. Maybe he'll forget about it. I don't know. Is there a little mat? Did he actually bring a mat with him?
Yes. Yeah, no. He has, so 2 other dwarves are with him, and they absolutely roll out a little mat and then set up the full rink.
This is the worst. Okay. Okay. So I ride Twitch over and hop off and clap my hands, my little claws. A battle of riddles is the greatest of all battles. Only a true warrior can defeat another warrior with riddles. You follow me?
I do not, but I'm willing to see where this goes.
All right. I step onto the mat. So I tell you a riddle, and if you can guess it, then you tell me a riddle, and then if I can guess it, then you tell me a riddle, until one of us runs out of riddles. And whoever runs out of riddles or doesn't answer is the loser. Wait, that's, yes, the loser of the riddle contest.
Wait, I didn't, wait. Was I supposed to bring riddles? I was not aware of this rule. I don't think this is in the rule book. And he looks over at one of the other dwarves, and he's motioning to him to bring him a large rule book. And it's a large leather-bound 4 or 5 inch thick book that rules of combat. And he starts flipping through there. What do you do as he's studying?
So, you mentioned this thing about tribal knowledge when I explained the unknown by retelling stories of my village.
Yeah.
I'd like to try that thing.
All right.
Right now.
Yeah, do it.
The Battle of Riddles is well known among the Gauntlet, and we often will tell riddles back and forth to each other and twist them around to try to trick each other. And so that's totally in our rule book, which maybe I have a copy of in my pouch here. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, let's see.
Cool. So to activate this, I need to roll plus ingenuity, right?
Yeah, and so ingenuity is actually a stat for your village.
Oh, gotcha.
So we'll say it's a 1.
Awesome. So 2d6 plus 1, here we go.
Oh!
That is a 6. Boxcars!
Excellent. All right. So, yeah, not only, so you're explaining this, and as you do, Skitch, one of the other kobolds in the village, he runs out with a very, naughty, poorly put together rule book and throws it up onto the, mat and then runs away. What do you do?
Oh, I walk up and I point. Here's our rule book, and you've come into our town. This is Gauntlet rules.
Okay. So the Luchadwarf picks up the gauntlet. He's looking through it. It's mostly written in charcoal and dirt. It's mostly pictures.
Yeah, mostly pictures and a little bit of like what Woodstock, whenever Woodstock would talk and Peanuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the hash marks. Yeah, a little bit of that.
Yeah. It's like really like poor Sumerian handwriting. And he's like, is this the riddles? And he shows you a picture of 2 kobolds talking, but he can't, it obviously doesn't say anything. And he's pointing to, is this it?
Oh, you got the first riddle! We're playing already!
Oh, okay. All right then, let's go. Yeah.
Good job, Silver Mask. I think I'm in a great deal of trouble here. I look around. Okay. Now I'm going to throw down a riddle.
Okay.
And, yeah. So I could Google for them, or we could take this to dice.
Yeah, let's just go to dice instead of Googling riddles. Yeah, let's see if, maybe a wit and verve, I think.
Ooh, that sounds cool. So this is one of the basic moves, wit and verve. When you try to lie or fast talk yourself out of a situation, roll intelligence. Oh, crap. Okay. Dang it, why'd I do -2? That is a 6 -2, a 4.
A 4, nice. All right. So, what does your bumbling through a riddle look like?
So I start off telling a river riddle, where the river is the answer, but then I talk about a babbling brook instead, and then I just keep going. Because I realize that I messed it up, so I think if I just keep talking, it will confuse him. Because I'm confused.
As you go on, he's nodding at first, then he raises an eyebrow, Then he looks over at the other dwarves. As you keep going, he's getting less and less amused by this. And finally, he's just like, No, I'm done with this. No, we are doing it the old-fashioned way. This riddle nonsense will not work. And he runs back, slams into the cables in the back of the ring, and then flies towards you with a fist out and just smashes into your chest for a D8 of damage.
Ah! How many hit points do I have?
You have a D6 plus your Constitution.
Okay, so I'll just roll the D8, the D8, the D6 right now.
At the same time, yeah.
+1 Constitution, so here we go. Okay, so I have 6 hit points because I rolled a 5 + 1 from Constitution. However, he did 6 hit points of damage to me.
So he smashes into you, and your body just kind of lifts up and then flops down onto the ground.
Oh.
And Plussikar has perished. The mask starts posing. The other dwarves put some oil on him to make him look better. He poses. Yes! Again! The silver mask is undefeated! Then he gets off the mat, they roll it back up, and then they leave the village. Now, at this point, you get death tokens when you die.
Okay.
Because when you're out on a mission, you don't immediately respawn. You have to come back to the village normally to get your next generation of kobold. So those 2 death tokens, if you haven't spent them by the end of the mission, they become 2 XP apiece.
Right.
So the village gets 4 XP plus the 1 XP for the miss that you got. So you earn the village 5 XP, which is only 2 away from getting an advanced village move, which the advanced village moves are moves that affect all the kobolds. They make your village better, which, again, the village is the main character, so it makes it better, gives it more defensive strength, or gives all the kobolds extra abilities, like you can become a kobold rider, where you can all ride away and escape any situation.
Yes!
On your hamsters, your giant hamsters, just like Twitch, your pet. Or you can get stuff like, fuck you, we have a dragon, and you can get your dragon protector, and he'll fight battles with you. But yeah, that's the essence of No Country for Kobolds. Fighting things and dying.
That is the best. Oh man, Steve, thank you so much for coming on +1 Forward and sharing No Country for Old Kobolds with me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you having me.
+1 Forward is a production of the Gauntlet community and Richard Rogers. You can find us on gauntlet-rpg.com or follow us on Twitter at GauntletRPG. The games mentioned on this show use the Apocalypse engine, which is a creation of Vincent and McGay Baker. The music for +1 Forward is from the Savage Oral Hotbed CD Gomi Daiko. The songs used are Gomi Daiko Metal version and Process. You can find more amazing tunes by Savage Oral Hotbed on their website, savageoralhotbed.com.